Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Mysidia Post video. My name is Alex Scott.
My name is Travis Pfeiffer.
And today we're going to be talking about Opus 10 and doing a little recap because Opus 11 is about to drop. Pre-release is next week. And then the week after that, we have the actual set dropping. So we're going to go over kind of a bunch of cards that turned out to be really great and some cards that we were a little bit disappointed in.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I guess we'll just get right into it and start in Fire. The first card we're going to talk about is probably now the most played Fire summon, which is Ifrit.
So good. So good. It makes Brynhildr look like a joke. There's so many times when I'll try to ping off an opponent and they're like, all right, in response, I'm going to Ifrit. And they're playing Waff. And so not only does my attack or my spell now not only it doesn't kill that lawn, now it survives, and I lose a forward on top of it. It just has so many uses. It's so versatile. The fact that it gives you the buff and deals the damage all for free, man, that I knew that card was gonna be good, and it has proven its worth. It's excellent.
Yeah, and it really set a precedent for how the curve works in terms of 3 CP can deal 8k, and then now we have that, and that's really important. And the only question is, why did it take so long to get that card?
Right? It makes you wonder. And you know what? In a weird way, it's almost a benefit that it's not a burst, because if you're running a deck that plays K-Tuna or Fire, or I have a mono Fire right now that runs Frit, and so I leave the EX version of Ifrit in the deck to hopefully hit into damage, and I just pull that one out because you don't want it to hit into damage anyway. So yeah.
Exactly. You always feel good about pulling that one. Same thing with my mono Fire. I'm always like, yeah, I'm not touching the 4 CP one because I want to burst that ASAP.
It's great. Everything as advertised.
The next one, if you did watch our set video, Travis was high on, and I was just meh on. And I would like to say that since I've played with the card, I've totally come around on it, and that card is Furion.
Yeah. I mean, he's meant for mono Fire. Obviously, you're not going to play him outside that, but in mono Fire, you're going to have Lebro out. He's coming down. I mean, at 3 backups, he's an 8k hasty person, and at 5, I mean, there's sometimes I've just left him up as a blocker. It's like, hey, it's 10k first strike. Have fun getting through that. He's great.
Yeah, exactly. He just he gives you fast play, so you can get ahead early. He gives you really the biggest thing for me is that he's just become this blocker. He becomes this forward that my opponent can't get by because of the first strike, and then I start attacking with all my other forwards and just leave him up. And there's just been it started as a 1 of, and then now he's a 2 of in my mono Fire deck. So I definitely rate him a lot higher than I thought I was going to.
Yay!
Okay, moving on. Won't surprise you. Another card that did very well is Geomancer.
Again, mono Fire. That's the thing I like about all these cards is they're also good in mono Fire. Mono Fire, put him down, draw a card, and I have used the action ability so many times. Against a buddy the other day, he had a Porum on the field, and he went to Famfrit it, and so in response, I just cracked the Geomancer, so I blew up the Porum, so he had to sack a different forward, which he wasn't expecting. Just the fact that it's so much value. The second it hits, you're going to draw a card, and then that you can just crack it at any time. I used that against Cody to get past his mono ice deck where he would have the dragon or other stuff up with Duke Larg. It was 10k, and I would Ifrit for 8, and then I would just Geomancer to finish it off. It feels so good. And because it's multi-card, there's been times I've had 3 Geomancers now, and it feels great.
And it's always drawing in mono Fire. I totally understand that it's an amazing card. I actually have yet to put it in a deck because I keep putting non-Fire cards in my mono Fire deck. If you listen to my podcast, you know that I stuffed 5 ice cards into my mono Fire deck, and a couple of dark cards as well, meaning that I was just I didn't have the kahunas to play Geomancer in those lists. But that kind of ties into one of the cards I think has just been one of my favorite Fire cards, which is Class 2nd Moogle. And just getting that ice for Fire is just a really big deal. Last Well is amazing. Chaos Mobius becomes this board clearing machine with Ifrita, and then on top of all of that, it makes your opponent discard. So that's probably been my favorite little package in the entire set. So,
yeah, he's been cool.
Yeah. So then we're gonna look at this. You might not have heard of it. It's some WAF cards. There was a few printed. They were like, I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't think anybody's playing those. So
no,
WAF is everything is advertised it to be, and I wasn't even super high on it when it first came out. But I mean, the rain is obviously the star of the show. It enables all the forwards, but really, it's not just the rain. Like that Juan really puts in work, being the first strike, the 7K with the ping, and the backups too. Like it's so easy to overlook the backups, but Loose and Rorik are just so good. You know, EX burst on Rorik, and for the whole package, they just make people like Owen to get online so much easier, because it's all these, you know, WAF character backups. So yeah, I mean, it's one of the top 3 decks of the meta right now, and justifiably so. It's everything it lived up to be. And we can talk about Rain all you want, because I know that card definitely irks you. And for me, like the haste and the ping is one thing, but I think what really strikes me about WAF is that it can be free. So you literally can just dump out your entire hand and you just plop it down for free. Like you don't have to pay for it anymore. Like that's really crazy. That just it makes the deck so efficient between her and Lon and Alan. You just have all these super cheap cards to play.
That's what actually ticked me most about it as well, because like fast decks and lots of card games can have haste and have removal and like all sorts of things going on that, you know, that's what they need to be able to be aggro. There's no other way to do it. But then because WAF had such cheap forwards, they are playing stuff for very little CP, and then they're keeping lots of cards in hand. So where an aggro card or an aggro deck in any other card game would run out of steam, WAF never did. And even if you did remove all its threats, if you let it go for another 3 turns, it could refill the board just as easily, because it can play all of its top decks super quickly. So
it's insane. There's so many matches against it I've had where I'll literally have an empty field, and in one turn he's got 3 or 4 forwards on the field, and I've lost all mine because they can all just rush at you. Like it's crazy. It's crazy the way that deck can explode on you.
Yeah, so, and a couple of big things from this, like when WAF was crushing at first, people were saying, oh, well, you know, it's not that good, it has counters, and, well, it just kept taking event after event after event, and at this point it's indisputable. And now when we look at things like Ninjas, we look at things like Kingsglaive, you see every time people comment on Facebook saying that this set is, this archetype's going to need a Rain. Like all they need now is their Rain, because that's the card that does this, like that makes it happen. Because without Rain, WAF would not be able to function the way that it does. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, WAF was everything it was cracked up to be.
Okay, so the next one we have on our list is Ignacio, which is a card that is just super fun, and I see people play it all the time, and it's not necessarily like this top meta card, but it's just good. It's really, really strong, and I think it's a card that we're just going to see a lot of for a long time, because it can give you so much value if it's not dealt with.
For sure.
Yeah. How do you feel about Zande after that set?
So I did start playing the Gadonger deck, which won the Ultras Cup, and it's kind of that zombie Gilgamesh fire water mix, and that deck is so much fun. And so when he is built around, I think Zondi's very good. And with some of the spoilers we've gotten for Opus 11, he's just going to get better. They spoiled like a 1 CP Zac. There was another 1 CP card they spoiled in Fire. So I think he's just going to get better and better. And he still feels good to play, because, like, honestly, I didn't even resolve the damage 5 that much, but just being able to put him down and to bring in Lise into play for free, or the Archangel HM, and even with just the Naji, and again, that deck is built around the VV, so you can bring the VV in for free. Like, he feels a lot better, I think, than he maybe reads on the card. Like, there is a very good feeling of power if you put him down and, like, I just got a bunch of forwards. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, exactly. And when I played against him a few times, it was always this constant fear that I thought in my head, I know that I'm okay right now, but if he drops his Zonde, I'm in trouble. And
Right.
I was always like very cautious about that. And okay, he's got like 3 cards in hand, so if he draws next turn, he could play the Zonde. Like whatever
Yeah.
it is, like it's always live or so. So one card that we both didn't get as much out of as we had hoped is Caius.
Yeah, I tried to use him. I do still have a single copy of him in Mono Fire. Maybe it was just bad luck, but it just felt like he always got answered as soon as I put him down. People will target him because they know you're going to have to get rid of another. And unfortunately, Fire doesn't have anything like Rampier where you want it to go to the break zone. So you're basically losing something you want regardless. Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't make him work the way I wanted him to.
Yeah, no, kind of just the same thoughts with me, and I'm sure he's such a fun card to play, like that I'll probably try him again, but in terms of competitiveness, I couldn't get there. So
Yeah.
well, you know what? We're gonna move on to Ice, and Ice got a lot of very good cards. One of the most played Ice cards in Opus 10 would have to be Une.
Yeah, this card was everything I feared it would be. Thank God it's only on that player's turn. So, like, on your turn as the opponent, they can't Unai blink because, man, that would
yeah.
I've seen so many matches where people like, all right, try to target that with a summon, then they go, I'm gonna blink it, and then it gets its effect, and then my summon goes off. Like, that thing is disgusting when it goes off. So the less I see it, the better.
Yeah, and you know what? Like it gets so much value that the 6 CP doesn't even matter. Like they haven't lost. They get so much value in the end.
Right.
And definitely a card that a lot of people needed to read again after their first time building the deck because it didn't work the way they thought it did. But
right.
Super good card, super fun card, and glad
Absolutely.
it's around overall. Okay, here's a card that Travis wasn't 100% sold on and turned out to be fine, which is Cloud of Darkness.
Yeah, this card just had so many caveats to it that I was like, I don't know, but it literally comes down to the simple fact that you as the player can decide when to play it. This isn't a card. I guess I'm so used to so many Ice cards that you can slam them down in any situation and they're good. She is you wait for the right moment. You wait, you don't do it when their entire field's dull. So they go, oh, okay, well, I'll take my least valuable card and throw it away. You wait until they have one card dull, put it down, and now they're forced to sack this card that maybe was super valuable. Maybe their biggest beater, or however. And so I've seen that a lot, whether it's in Rampier or Mono Ice, and just seeing how people use it, that this isn't something you just slam down whenever. This is, you specifically put it down when they have a dull target you want to get rid of. A lot of times I won't even see people attack with it. They'll just, no, let's keep it as a blocker because they don't want to do the, the dull freeze or whatever. So yeah, better than I thought it was, for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons that this saw play was because of Rampier.
Yeah.
I don't think that I saw it that much in Mono Ice or Ice Earth. Although we did see a little bit of it, but I mean, it might not even have been on this list if not for Rampier. So that's something to consider. Now, the next 2 cards are a couple of 3 CP Ice forwards that are fully deserving to be on this list. And the first one is Squall Legend. This is a card that I think is an automatic one of in any Ice deck ever. And then in my Ice Wind, I've recently been dabbling with 2, and I've actually really enjoyed it. But I think if you're doing 1, 2, whatever, he just has to be there because he's so impactful, and it's very easy to recur him anyway. So 1 can work out nicely.
Absolutely. I've been unfortunate enough that I've had a lot of matches where I seem to just always draw him early, and I'm like, no, I don't want this now. I need this later when the damage stacks up. But still, when he goes off on that damage, it feels so good. It just feels so good. He's so versatile. And
do you run the 2 CP Scholar to fish him out?
No, because I'm stupid, so I should. But no, I don't.
Well, I know you got it. Cause one CP and break for to bring him back to your hand. Same thing with the 3 CP Sephiroth, which is our next card. Is so easy to fish out. To use a Shadow Flare. This card is just it's back attack done right. That's what it is at the end of the day. Yeah.
100%. I've had Cody's running one in his deck currently, and like you said, not only is it more fodder for Shadow Flare, which is just gross, it's back attack isn't something you really expect in Ice, so there's times I'll forget about it, and I'm like, what is he responding with? And then it's like, like not only is it a surprise blocker, and then it dulls one of your guys, like and again, this is specials done right too. You know, not to go too much into Opus 11, but that new Cloud they revealed was disappointing because it didn't have a special. It was name locked, whereas the new Sephiroth did. This Sephiroth also has a special, so regardless of which one is on the field, this is the 7 CP, you can always use the one for the other. Like, that's how you should do your specials.
It almost should have been the other way around. The new Sephiroth should have not had a special.
Yeah,
but
it would have made more sense.
I'm glad it does because it's hilarious. It's so good.
It's absurd.
But that's another video that we'll be doing soon enough.
We'll get there one day.
Okay, so one more ice card that I found tremendously useful is Nagmalata, and Nagmalata found me so many Scaletoads, and he crushed people's hopes and he shattered their dreams. When that spunky little toad found his way out of my deck onto the field, it's all thanks to Nagmalata. So
I totally underestimated this card when we started, but again, seeing people like, oh yeah, being able to pull out Scaletoad on demand is pretty good. So I definitely, it's very good.
Yes, I also used it to fish for Flans. I used him to find Luminous Puma. I used him to find Deathgaze 9 in Icewind. And he's if I'm running a monster, he is automatically a staple in that deck because he's fantastic. Especially if I have Scaletoad, then it's a must because you don't ever want to run 2 Scaletoads, I don't think. But you would definitely love to have them in your deck, 2 copies to have it, but you don't want to use up 2 deck slots on Scaletoad, but now you can, and it's just a backup instead. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so a couple of cards that didn't quite work out the way that we wanted. The first one is Sarah.
I tried. Sarah, I tried. I really did. I ran her in Mono Ice. I ran her with the new Mog 13-2 to do the little combo, and like a few times I got it off, but it's not only that it's too slow, it's that it costs you CP to do it. Like, it doesn't really feel very good to do it because she can't attack. You got to dull her to dull 2 and then freeze 1, and then now you're down a backup for your next turn. And to bring him back, you then have to pay CP an additional. I almost feel like it should have been reversed. Like when he's on the field and ICP, and then you just dull her to bring him back because it's like, okay, but now I'm down another CP without this backup, and I've got to pay another. So it just didn't feel good. So I ultimately sacked her. Like, again, with a few times you get to do her little combo chain, like it was cool, but just it wasn't what I wanted it to be.
And I think that's what I said initially was that it just seems like too much work. Like it's too many things that you have to do, and while you're doing that, your opponent's doing other stuff. So
exactly.
The card that I was disappointed with was the Ice backup Terra. So EX Burst Summon Searching is really good, and it's also a six backup. So there's so many good things about this card, and it's not, for the record, it's not a bad card. But basically, what I found is that I saw it early so often, and I really, really didn't want Ice Summons yet. And so now I'm pitching 2 cards from hand to play this card to get a card into my hand that I'm probably going to pitch for CP because I just pitched 2 other cards for the Terra. Right. So it kind of actually it made my deck worse in a way when I had it early, and it ended up getting cut. And I tested the Opus 10. I played a silly amount of Ice Earth, so Ice cards I know really well this set, and it ended up not being worth it for my specific list. But I also wasn't running 6 packages. So,
did you ever use her action ability?
I actually. You know what?
Because Cody runs it, but I've never seen him use the action ability. Once it comes down, it just stays there.
I think I used it one time. I'm trying to remember what card because I can cast any element, right?
I believe so. Let me check. Put ice tap, put Terra into the break zone, cast one summon of cost 4 or less from your hand without paying the cost.
Cast it from your hand, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't say element.
Yeah, so I cast a Mist Dragon. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of a neat, especially in Ice Earth where you don't run very much Earth, so you're not always color fixed.
I gotcha.
So, yep. Okay, let's go to Wind.
Yay!
So this first card is the little monster. Do you want to say his name?
Unsagadashi!
So we saw a lot of this card. He became the protector of Yasmat.
He did.
That was his duty.
Yeah, he was great. Well, again, any monster or any card really that's designed like this with this action ability that doesn't require haste, like, it doesn't matter. They can't even break the thing, because if they ever do, you're just going to say, okay, well, in response, here, I'll break it myself and use his power. Yeah, he's kind of something that you basically just had to forcefully trigger it at some point with whatever, bait it out with whatever, so you can then do the thing you really want to do. Because, yeah, he was so good. He was so good. And again, on 5 damage, he just... Especially if he was on the board with Vaughn and like mono went, like forget it. What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, and I think that with him, because of him, I think he's going to become bigger. I think that Opus 11's got a bunch of threats coming out, and people are going to want to protect them. I think Psycom Enforcer is going to become a mainstay in my Earth decks again, because I feel like I'm going to be killing a lot of Unsaganashis.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay, so the next card that we loved was Pinello, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. She became a staple in Wind Water. She is amazing in Wind Lightning, and just all around a solid card.
I kind of undersold this card originally because I was like, well, it only works if you're at 3 damage. Like, so what if you never get there? Not realizing the reality of that, if you never get to 3 damage, that's a good thing. Like, that's not a bad problem to have, that you can never activate your Pinello. It means you're probably winning that game unless you deck yourself out. Yeah, I mean, Valifor Fina is already such a pain in the butt to deal with. It's already such a good board wipe. And to have this card that just tacks on that extra 1,000 is just disgusting and annoying. So, yeah, she's great.
Yep. Okay, so some cards that these aren't cards that failed or that we thought didn't work out. They're cards that we just didn't get to use that much, and they're like, for instance, this first one, it's a great card. It's so meta dependent, and that's Sid FFBE.
Yeah, he's so cool. I love him. He's got a great effect, but as cool as Spine Shatter Dive 0 is, you have him in there not for the 2K, for the 9K. Like, you have him in there if you're playing against Layla Viking, if you're playing against WAF and they drop the rain for free, maybe Rampier when they drop something for. But it's just, yeah. First of all, he's only 7K, so he can kind of die easy enough. And second of all, on the chance you're playing someone who doesn't have any effects like that, he just is kind of just there. Like, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of him. So as cool as he is, like, he'd be perfect if this game ever had a side deck that you could be like, ooh, I'm gonna slot one of him in between matches because I know this will help against this opponent. But it's tough to put him in ahead of that. So yeah, just didn't work out as well as I wanted.
Yeah, the one deck that he did wonders for me in was Wind Lightning, and that was specifically because I did combo with his 2K ping, which happens a lot more. And then also if you use oh my gosh, the 3 CP Wind Summon that lets them play a forward from their hand, Chaos Walker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If they play the forward with Chaos Walker, he's gonna ping it with the big ping. So. Yep. That worked out pretty well, and I also, in that deck, it was so aggressive that I used his special quite a few times, and his special is really cool. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the special's awesome.
Okay, one card that I just didn't get to see, I just really didn't play with it. Like, it's a card that I had thought I would, and I never really got around to it, and that would be, I'm just pulling it up, is Vaughn. So the hero Vaughn, he's the one. Yeah, so he was a card that I didn't think was particularly strong, and then I played with him in pre-release, and I'm like, this guy's amazing. So for each active character you control, he gains 1,000 power. At the beginning of your turn in late game, he's a 9K, and then that's for your 5 backups, let's say, and then whatever other forwards you have. So I'm very interested in trying him out in some decks and at another point. Golbez would be a really cool deck to try him out in as well.
That would be sweet.
The only problem is that Luso is such a good Golbez target that Vaughn's probably not
that's true.
An option for you, but he's a card that I want to try. I want to try him out.
Going with Vaughn and Fran and Fran, and I guess we'll just kind of go on this right now. Sky Pirates in general just didn't quite pan out the way I was hoping it would. I saw a few people run it at my locals, and like there was moments it seemed like a fun deck. Like they would do the turn 1 Philo into Elza or into a Fran, and like so it had some little moments, but I don't know. Like I don't know if it just got completely overshadowed by WoF. That it was like, oh, well, it was like, a half version of what World of Final Fantasy was. And so everyone was like, I'll just play this one, which I know crushes. So, yeah, Sky Pirates did not have the big kind of surge I was hoping to see from it.
It wasn't even a half version. Like, it didn't have any of the stuff that WoF had. Like, and it got a lot of support is the other thing, is that it just got so much support, but the cards it got were bad on par. I mean, it didn't have a Rain. Like if they literally printed a van that had all of Rain's text, then Sky Pirates would have been fine.
Right. I think the Fran was supposed to be that, but again, she doesn't compare to Rain, not even close.
No, she's much more difficult to pull off. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Earth next. And top of the list, awesome cards, is Sieghard.
Sieghard, love this in Mono Earth. Run him in my Mono Earth 15 deck, which will be updated to a 15 Lightning deck with all the new stuff coming out in Opus 11. So I'll have to make a Mono Earth to replace it. Like he when he came down, he's a pain to deal with. Unless your opponent has some way to like delete him on the spot via non-damage, he just makes everything so resilient. He makes even boards, you will win the trades because all your forwards will take less damage. Like, Sieghard is great. Out of the Sworn 6 of the Palladium, not counting the Light and Dark, like, I think he was by far the strongest as far as, like, for a mono element. He just makes your whole board so resilient. And being a 4K, he's not in Diabolos range. He's not in Zalira range. Like, he's just this perfect card that just says, hey, have fun getting through us. And, like, I faced a buddy who used my Mono Earth, and Sieghard came down, and I was like, oh, I can trade it. Oh, wait, no, I can't trade because you'll take less damage. Like, he was so good. Love that card.
As a Mono Earth enthusiast myself, I actually, when I actually started playing him was after I talked to you. We were talking about your locals. You told me you played him and that he was great. And then that night I sleeved him, put him in my deck, and I haven't looked back. Every Earth brew that I've done since has had him involved. He combos so well with Raubon, and he's just a really neat card. So thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Another card that's just seen a ton of play in WoF and in other decks is Kusith, and it's pretty self-explanatory. The card's good. I never believed the naysayers, and there were naysayers at the beginning that said,
everyone was like, this just replaces the card in your hand. That's not worth it. It's like, yeah, but it lets you pull back the most valuable part of your deck whenever you want to.
Yeah, it's like, sure, you lose 2 CP on your backups if you cast it off backups. You're not pitching a card for it generally. So like,
right.
It was fine. Like it's obviously good, so we don't have to spend too much time on that.
Yeah, Kusith's great.
Zuzu Hisa is a card that I have absolutely adored, and I play it in my Mono Earth. I play 1 or 2 of them, and I really, really like this card. There's been a lot of games where it's pushed me ahead and really helped me out. The other day, actually, on at locals, the opponent had to make a big play to try to win, which popped my Zuzu Hisa, and that gave me the removal to disrupt his plan, and then I was able to beat him the next turn, so it worked out perfectly.
He's great. I'm the only one who uses him at my level, but like you said, Earth doesn't draw very much, so to have drawn Earth feels great. And he goes off about 90% of the time. There's like once or twice someone will burn an ability or something to get, but it's also just like, okay, you burned an ability to take him out. Like, yeah, I don't even care when they do that. I'm like, all right, if you want to waste a summon or whatever it is, like to get rid of him, okay. Like,
yeah,
he cost me 1 CP, so
as long as they don't have like Pinello or Elhanalem or something like that.
Right.
Then, but you wouldn't have ever. Those are backups, right? So you wouldn't have ever have played him.
Exactly.
If they had them, so he's just great.
Yeah.
Here's a card I never actually tried, but we obviously saw was successful at Worlds and other tournaments, and that's Doga.
Yeah. Again, with Unai, this is obnoxious. I had a couple guys at my locals who ran Unai Doga decks with both, and it's just not fun. Like, if they can get going, like, they'll cast Alexander, break this back up, Doga trigger, break this back up, Unai trigger, flip. It's just, even without Unai, I hate backup destroying stuff in the game. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand why it's there and it needs to be there, but it's just so unfun being on the receiving end of it. It's just like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he's a pain in the butt to deal with. Yeah, the only solace I have from it is that it's 3 or higher. So sometimes if I'm lucky and I have cheap back, it's like, okay, I gotta slam all the 2-cost ones down so they can't touch them.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my all my thoughts too. I can't believe they ran Une and Doga. That's so greedy. Like it must have been a couple of turns before they had any cards in hand if they play.
Oh yeah,
playing both.
Yeah, again, if it backfires, it backfires. But if it works,
yeah, then you're pretty good. Okay, next one 1 CP Titan. Card's good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, fantastic.
Again, card draw, Brave, can't be dulled. It's
even 1,000. Yeah, just all of his effects are great. He's as good as I thought he would be.
Yep. 9 CP Shantoto. That card is nice.
Hate this card. I would have loved to have seen an Opus without Rampier because I don't know how popular this card would be. The fact that you can shit this out for free is so unfair. It is. It's completely unfair. Like, this card was not meant to be free. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, we'll get into that in the Rampier section, but, like, the fact that they can either just bring back something on their side of the field or break one of your backups or break one of your forwards, and they have this massive 9K body on there. Like, again, if you had to pay 9 for it, or even if you had to do the reduced 6, that'd be one thing, but seeing this thing come out for free is, I hate it.
So I actually played a boatload of this without Rampier before the Opus 10 came out because the starter was out. I played Ice Earth with Renoa, and I absolutely loved it. I actually started running one of this 9 CP Shantoto and a backup 7 CP Shantoto, and I think that it would definitely see play in some decks without the Rampier, and I think it did. I think Alex Hancock's did a little write-up about it at one point or talked about it.
Really?
But then Rampier came out and it was just even better. Because obviously it's free, so yeah.
Yep.
So here's a card that was as expected. It's Captain Bosch von Ronsenberg. And he is super fun. I love him. And I love the little art style. He's just like, he's fine. Like, he's a fine card, and once in a while he's gonna do his best ability, but he's a win more card. If you have that many cards in hand, then you're fine anyway. He's not like a reliable card to actually use his ability because it's so hard to keep 7 cards in hand. You have to have ended your turn with 5 cards,
right?
Which doesn't happen that often when you're playing 4 CP forwards.
Right. Good for you, because I never saw him once at my local, so good for you for actually giving him a go.
I was playing him for fun. Just like Opus 10, after Reunion, and I had done just so much competitive testing, I decided to play cards that I wanted to play for the rest of the Opus. So I was playing stuff like 7 CP Gabranth. I was this week I played Zodiark and 4 CP Gabranth combo, like random stuff that I just wanted to play. So that's why Bosch was around. But another deck that I just tried out for fun after Reunion was the Warrior of Light legendary standard unit deck, and he just wasn't quite good enough because you just can't ever guarantee that he's going to flip over some good standard units. And while the deck was incredibly fun and had some crazy snowball potential, it's just not quite there.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of what we figured with him. That's unfortunate because, yeah.
and the one thing is like his damage 5 ability is so insane. Like your Vikings can, because I also ran Arc. I ran Arc and I also ran Maria. So like your a Viking could be 9k.
That's crazy.
But the issue is that the Warrior of Light is 7k and incredibly removable. So
right.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Lightning. We're going to talk about Rampier.
Ugh. Rampier. Oh, put Rampier down. I take such delight when I beat someone playing a Rampier deck. Like this, it's just stupid. Like, I don't understand what they were thinking with this card. Like, 2 CP backup, break it in an element that has so many ways to easy, and just play any card. I guess what really surprises me is there's no cost restriction. I would have expected a card like this to be like, you may play a forward of cost 5 or less, or 6 or less, or something like. You know, everyone knows what the classic what the combo is, which is you pull down the Kane from Opus 9, sack the Rampier, Kane, you're deleting a forward, here's a Shantoto, you can delete another forward, or you can pull back something from your break zone. And sometimes they literally pull back the same Rampier they just threw in there, like so they can do it all over again. Ugh, it's disgusting. Like, and as I mentioned in the review video, it's defined the deck. That's what the deck is based off of a 2 CP Lightning backup.
Well,
that's crazy.
So there was 3 color before Rampier, and there was also the Moogle deck before Rampier, and that deck actually completely crushed the Arizona Crystal Cup last year. So the precedent for this like weird toolbox 3 color deck was there. This pushed it to the next level. So for sure, incredibly powerful card. And there's no way it couldn't have been Final Fantasy 11 because it's like the whole point of the card is that it brings in 11 cards. It is an 11 card, but that makes it searchable by Star or Sybil, and then it was just too much synergy. Like if they had done this effect in some other category, then that might have been better, but because they built it in 11, then it became just so accessible. So
yeah, it's a pain. It's a huge pain in the butt.
Yeah. Okay, so next up we have Garland.
Yeah, perfect Rampier, buddy. He absolutely wants to sack that card when he comes in. And just for Lightning or any deck to have a 9k first strike blocker, like he's just good for 3 CP. That's great. Yeah, he's just great. He's just great.
It's weird. It's like they almost printed too much Rampier support. Like if it had maybe a downside of Rampier would be, oh, I can't cast my Cloud of Darkness right now for no value because there's nothing to break. I can't cast my Kane right now because they haven't played anything yet. I don't want to play this card. But now it's like, okay, well, now you have Garland. So not only do you have a knight that's searchable, he's super powerful with first strike, but he's also just a proactive play to get the combo going when your opponent's not doing anything. So there's no bad way to break the Rampier. Like you just have all of these really good options, and maybe they could have not printed the Garland in the deck. But then again, like the deck doesn't even really need Garland either. Like you see versions that don't have it. Need him. It's just weird. Like it's a lot.
He's a good turn 1 play too, because if you have no other character, he doesn't have to sack anything. So
yeah, but then you're playing 4 for him. So
well, yeah, but I'm just saying if you had to.
If you had to, yeah. Okay, next up is Kanakamoi, which is, I actually had forgotten, is another really good Nag Malata target, and just all around very good card. It's enabled no summon decks to run things like Hurdy, and then you still have the goodness that is power reduction. It's everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah, it's especially annoying on 5 damage when it goes up to that 9k mark, because I mean, there's just so little that's going to survive that. So you're basically guaranteed to lose a forward at that point. Yeah, he's great. I really don't like fighting against it. It's very annoying.
Yeah, he makes it kind of tricky. And he's not an easy cost to remove in terms of removing monsters. So,
absolutely. Well, again, even if they try to, like they're gonna hit you. They're gonna hit something with the power reduction on the way out. So,
next up is Fail Thanos, who's all around. Like I wouldn't say is a broken card, and it's not a it's just turned out to be kind of like an interesting card to have to deal with, and everyone including WAF, has put in Fail Thanos answers. So like you see WAF running Bahamut, and you see other decks kind of running their big costed thing that can deal with him, because it's just kind of, it's almost like he's like a nice gatekeeper. He keeps everybody in check. He's the bouncer at the party, and he's like, you know what, if you're out of line, I'm gonna toss ya.
You should have gone for the head. So yeah, he is exactly what I predicted. What my sky is falling. He depends on the deck. Against the right deck, he literally wins by himself. I had to face him I was playing against him with Scions the other night, and the only thing in that Scions deck that works is Bahamut Zero, which I couldn't draw. And so I lost. I just other than Ida to getting over him, because Alpha No Ping doesn't work. Ishtola Ping doesn't work. This doesn't work. Like, none of your things work. So yeah, sometimes you've got something to get right around and be like, oh, okay, I'll just do this, and boom, he's no problem. But if you don't have an answer to him, he wins on his own, and it's so frustrating and so annoying. And as I predicted, he is not easy to get, because some people are like, well, you just attack into him, because they're not going to block with him. They will not block. In WAF, I think to get around him in WAF, I think it was like a lightning deck, I literally had to only attack with the Owen at 10k and leave the Pelennor back up so that I could threaten the Pelennor board ping. Yeah, so he's exactly what I thought he would be. Just literally impossible to beat if you don't have an answer, and if you do have an answer, then he's doesn't give you nearly as much trouble.
There were definitely a few times where I did just attack through him, and if my opponent didn't block, they very quickly realized that wasn't a viable strategy, because they were going to take 7 points of damage. And
oh, nice.
It just depends on when he was dropped, but I also play a lot of big decks, and so for example, Mono Earth I might not have anything that deals with him, but I don't have anything that really cares anyway, because everything is 9k or higher.
Right, which is good.
But even in other decks, I party attacked or did things, and my opponent's like, well, I can't get rid of my Fail Thanos, and they realize eventually that they have to, because it's this 7 CP4 they paid for that right now isn't getting any value because they won't block with it. So it's kind of tricky that way, but overall, I think it's been a really, really strong card.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone who can run one is usually at least one copy.
Oh yeah, just put one in there. Just put it in there. Yeah. Whatever. Just put it in there. Desh is a card that I have loved. He's just powerful, and he gets online very quickly. As you said, if you're not taking damage, then that's a good thing. So I'm so glad he was printed at 3 CP, because if it was 4, it would have been dumb.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah. A card that neither of us played, I don't think he played, is Lightning, the Legendary, and it won a Crystal Cup, so we have to mention it. It's a card that has overperformed for people's expectations, and if you build around it, it's good.
I'm still not a big fan of it, but it's definitely better than I originally gave it credit for. First, I was just like, eh. Yeah. And part of that, I think, was because there was no Odins in this set, so it very kind of felt out of place in a way. Wow, well, especially in draft, this thing is pointless. But when you build around it, I have seen it put in more work than I originally expected.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's going to be around for a long time, because we're going to get more Odins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
One card that I was very high on that just, and some games won me the game, but more often than not, it was just too hard to work with, is Sakura. And I just wanted her to be this really flavorful way to draw in Lightning, because it's so cool. And it just didn't happen. So not much more to say there. Okay, so we're going to move on to Water, and we're talking about Gilgamesh 11, which is a card that I definitely played a lot of, and I loved it.
Yeah, he's so much fun. I thought he'd be great, and he's even better than I thought. He's just fun. He's just fun. He is a very fun, and again, using that Gdonger deck, the Ultras one, bringing back the Purim, bringing back the Zidane, bringing back the Vivi, bringing back whatever. One of my favorite mechanics in this game is on attack. I think that's one of the best sweet spots in the game where it's not as fast as an ETB, but it's not as slow as something that like where you have to do damage or they have to block you. Like I like that because what your opponent does is irrelevant. The second you declare that attack, boom, you get your forward back. And he's just, and especially with that little extra caveat that he can't be broken outright, like he's just so resilient and he's just so fun. Yeah, he opens up so many lines of play. He's a great card. He is a truly enjoyable card to use.
Oh yeah, big time. Ash is a card that's pretty self-explanatory. It was never in question that it wasn't anything but amazing, and it's a card that we are going to see for a very, very long time.
Absolutely. Goes great in wind water, mono water. Especially, I was playing my buddy. I used to be able to kind of crap on his mono water a bit more with my mono ice, but Ash totally negates that because it doesn't matter what you dull freeze. She's like, that's nice. Let me activate that. Now it's coming at you again. Yeah, every turn guaranteed. It's just like, well, crap, man. Like, yeah, she's just great. And I will be surprised when she finally dips out the scene because she's so strong.
Yeah, no, it would have to be because of rotation, because I just think that she's too good not to. Okay, the next one is some Warrior of Light support. I believe this card it's Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah, technically Princess Sarah, but they just call her Sarah. Your standard anthem, but it's nice. It's cool to see a job anthem. You don't see a lot of those. Again, we have all the element anthems, and very recently I've been playing the Warrior of Light deck, and she just, man, like, they get so big, and she's part of that, as she's giving everyone 1,000. Like, she is, and the artwork is just beautiful. Like, whatever, I don't know if it almost looks like photorealistic. Like, whatever they did. It's like a portrait. This art, yeah, it is. Like, this and Arya, and whatever they did for this artwork is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so I'm
digging it.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, so what does it say about the knight archetype that Sarah is 3 CP and Ovelia is 2 CP? Like, come on.
Right.
Oh no, we need some knight support. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next card saw lots of play, but not for what you might think it does, because this is a card that you might think is supposed to target your opponent's forward, but everybody used it to target their own forwards, and that is Titus. Just a really cool boxy card.
I was totally off the mark with this one because I was just playing it in mono water, and I kept trying to bounce my opponent's forwards. I don't know, it just never felt good. And I mentioned that in the review. I said, maybe it would be better in a dual element. I hadn't even considered water wind. Like, literally people just put it down to bounce their own pain or bounce their Mione or both. Or just it's absurd. And the special is just icing on the cake on the offhand chance. And he works so great with wind water because I hadn't even considered this. He buffs other 10 forwards, so pain is now 8k as opposed to 7k. Like, he's a beast.
Yeah, and there's even some other applications. For instance, in my buddy David's Fire Water FF9 deck, he could bounce things like the 1 CP VV, and then you're playing it back to do 7 to 10k. And the backup he bounced was the 2 CP Sage, which you then replay to give Titus haste, man. And then all of a sudden you're like haste. You're getting to reuse all your haste. You're getting to replay VV for 1 CP. It's just a really, really neat combo that he kind of figured out.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing with this guy, he has way more potential than even I realized. Like, you can do some pretty weird shenanigans with him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Class 4th Moogle. Color fixing, good.
Great. And Fire Water is so much fun. Again, using that Gadonger deck, like, it's color fixing. I use it in the Warriors of Light. It's great in any 9 version. Like, Fire Water just plays so well together, and these Moogles are great. So, yay.
Yep. Leviathan.
I didn't really like this card at first, and it was one of the cards I said kind of let me down, but the more I've used him, if you use him properly, and if you have a deck that plays around him, in particular, I use him in my Warrior of Light deck, and it's nice because sometimes you can get your hand junked up with light cards, so to be able to take a light card, or to be able to take a copy of either a backup or a forward you already have, which, is basically a dead card in your hand, and to just put it underneath the deck is great. Or there was one time I didn't have a turn I could do much, so when my opponent passed and I had open backups, I was like, on your end phase, main phase 2, tapped him, played him because I wanted to see what was coming next. I was like, I want to draw this next. So I'll just, I don't want to draw this. So again, in a deck where you kind of want to filter or you can do that surprise EX, he actually does feel pretty good. In particular, what's nice is that you draw first and then it doesn't have to be what you drew. There's some cards where it's what you drew that you have to put back. No, you can take something completely else out of your hand and be like, I'll send that over there. So yeah, giving him more love. He showed to be the true king of the sea.
Oh yeah, big time. Special shout out to Verena for being just like a neat EX burst searcher. Searching the 1 CP goblin is something that is pretty relevant, and I think we'll see play in a new water fire deck, which will be summoners, in order to get the new Braska's Final Aeon with haste. But it's something that I saw people use to give Gilgamesh 11 haste. It's something I saw people use to give Warriors of Light haste by searching out that 1 CP goblin, making it reliably a thing that you can do in your deck and get out early. So props to that card for being one that I didn't really... I was like, oh, searching a goblin. Okay, fine. But no, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Awesome.
Folka,
I love the art. I don't know. She didn't end up being as great as I'd hoped. Maybe because Ash is just so easy to fit into anything. Whereas Folka, you have to build around her. Like, you really need a deck loaded up with summons. And there's one cool deck I saw, which was a one-turn kill Onion Knight deck, where they'd have the Onion Knight and the Folka out. He'd swing in, she'd reactivate him in a backup, bounce the Onion Knight back to the hand to replay the next one to swing in, and literally kill this guy in one turn. So she had some uses, but I don't know. And there were times, too, her abilities almost felt a little too limited. Like, there were times I would want to do the bounce with the 4 cost, but they had too big of forwards. Again, it was like Rain Pier. It's like, well, these guys are all 7, 8, and 9. Like, there's no one to even bounce. So, yeah, I don't know. For me, she just didn't work out quite the way I wanted to. And there's no doubt you saw Ash way, way more than I ever saw Folka.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. One card that just didn't pan out for me was Lion. 3 CP 7K on curve has some amazing text, power boost, and draw a card on death. Like, those are all really good pieces of text, but just not enough room in the water decks to play it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going on to Light and Dark now, and all 4 Light and Dark cards made the good column. They're all great. So maybe like Citra and Reagan just saw so much play. They're must-haves, and you can slot them into almost any deck. Like, I don't really have a lot to say about them because we all know them, and we all know that they're good. So
they're absurd, and Citra especially. Like, I just don't know why they thought she should be 3 CP. That card could easily be 4 or 5 CP, and it would still see play. Like,
or you know what? I would honestly just like to see both of them as non-EX bursts.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, the fact that you can hit the burst and thanks for the summon back, or thanks for I just don't think they needed that. Like, they really just felt like they overtuned these two way too much.
And Light and Dark are tricky spots to figure out, but I also don't like adding an effect to everybody, especially something like Recursion that really, like, that's Earth's thing, and definitely lightning secondary thing. And then they've done some stuff, like they've given it to everybody now a little bit. Like, Wind has a little bit, Ice has a little bit, and even Water has some, like, on the play. Like, it's but now it's like straight up just everybody gets Recursion, and it's a thing that you can just have.
Right. And there's no denying their action abilities are so good. Like, it's a card that not only is it a light card, but it almost takes away the weakness of a light card. Oh, yeah, do you have extra copies of this? Yeah, just use this action ability and they can't attack or block. Like, same with Reagan. Like, oh, yeah, just use this extra dark card. Like, they're so good. They're just so good. Yeah, you see them everywhere, and until they basically print something that outclasses them, I think you're going to keep seeing them everywhere.
So Hein is a card that is best played in his preferred elements, but doesn't have to be, and for sure wasn't. Honestly, Hein sees play in any type of deck, and single-handedly has shut down so many games, especially versus things like WoF. And so I rated him highly on that note. One thing I didn't think that highly of was his dull ability, and that turned out to be maybe my favorite part of him. You leave him up as a blocker. Your opponent can't do anything. At the end of their turn, you use his dull ability, and then the next turn you're swinging through with all your other forwards, and he's still up as a blocker, ready to do it all over again. And
he can be brutal.
Yeah.
Similar to Fel Thanos against the wrong deck, there's just like, you're like, what do I do? I can't get past this guy.
Yeah, just an amazing card, great legendary. And then finally we have Refia.
Yeah. Again, now she's the only one of these three that you can't just slot into anything. Yeah. You have to play her in Warriors. But again, in the Warriors Light deck I'm playing, she feels so good because, she's the 5 CP range. She can get Diabolist or whatever instantly. But because she automatically pulls out Ingus, Arc, or Lunith to the field, it doesn't matter. You're getting the value out of her. She doesn't get to start attacking. Which, again, when I have the Sarah out, so Sarah, here comes, Lunith or whoever I pick, and then she's 10k right there. She's a 10. And if she starts swinging, God help you, you're donezo. Because it gets around so much. Because there's stuff in this game, it prevents break. Nothing prevents remove from game right now. Nothing. So she just says, that, gone. When she gets going, she's brutal. And again, I love this card art. She looks like a beautiful portrait. So she's in the deck that supports her. She is mwah.
Yeah, and you know what? My people at my locals have said the same thing. I've played against her now, and she's great, and just a really cool card. I do want to see at some point Light just get that killer legendary.
Yeah,
but it seems to be Dark's thing to get.
Yeah, Dark always seems to get the generic, hey, I'm good in any deck, and Light always seems to have the, I have to be in this particular deck. I wonder why that is.
It's weird.
It must be a choice because it's happened so often. It has to be no, this to be the theme kind of thing.
I do kind of like it. It's flavorful in this way that the bad guy is always evil and powerful automatically and must be stopped, and the good guy needs the friends or her friends and needs the synergy, needs the journey, needs the combination of things to prevail against the super powerful almighty bad guy. So the dark cards are already good and the light cards need to level up and become heroes. So maybe that's
super poetic, Alex. I like that.
All right.
Pay this man.
Yeah, so that's going to be it from us, but you don't have to wait too long to see us again, because as soon as the set gets dropped and we find out all the spoilers for Opus 11, we are going to be back with set reviews. We're going to try to do them fast this set so that we can get that content to your hands as soon as possible.
Absolutely. A few final thoughts on Opus 10. I've really enjoyed this Opus. I know it's gone on for a long time, and maybe some people got bored, but for me, that actually gave me more time to experiment with stuff. I felt more pushed to experiment with new cards in this Opus than I have in previous ones. That being said, I also know some people are just like, well, I'm just going to play the top three, Rampier, Wind, Water, Waft, and, do what you do. But, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I think for the most part, my locals got on board the let's build fun stuff and explore this Opus train as well. And that was my favorite part about this Opus, was just all the amazing things we did. We did some Sky Pirates at first. We did standard units. We had people building random Rydia decks. We had people building the Warriors of Light and all sorts of things. And that was what was really fun. And that doesn't necessarily happen in a shorter season. So
exactly, yeah.
And then obviously for power level, this Opus is very good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a higher level. It's up there. And this next set looks like it's going to be up there as well. So that's going to be pretty interesting.
You can say that again. Alex, thanks for having me on, sir.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me, and thank you everybody that watched. We'll see you soon enough. Adios.
See you in Opus 11.
Thank you so much for watching. You can like and subscribe to support us further, and you can read the Mysidia Post articles at themysidiapost.com. You can also check out our Patreon if you want to support us more. And if you need FFTCG singles, then look no further than Cards That You Release. They've got great deals and prices. Check them out. Finally, I'd like to thank FFDecks for creating the best website for creating your Final Fantasy trading card game decks. They've also got a Patreon, so make sure you go check them out. They work so hard for the community, so let's pay them back. See you next time.